Lives in danger, homes and businesses in ruin. Emergency first responders pushed to the brink. If there were ever a storm of the century, May 4th and 5th, 2012 will most certainly be on that list. This is a special edition of NBC 25 News at 6.
And good evening, everyone. We begin our coverage tonight in Flint Township on Mentola Avenue, a residential community probably this morning called Lake Mentola Avenue. The entire area behind me was covered underwater. Now the water is beginning to succeed, and the residents here on Mentola, which is right near Corunna Road, a very busy M21, and to my east, to my left is 75, only about 2 miles that way. So we're on the western edge of Genesee County. Well, residents up and down this stretch of Genesee County struggling right now to put their lives back in order after an incredible 24-hour bout with Mother Nature. It was a period of time when almost 5 inches of rain literally put entire Genesee County and Shiawassee County communities underwater. In what is believed to be one of the first times in history, both major Flint area expressways, I-69 and I-75, shut down, forcing thousands of motorists to find alternative transportation routes. I-69 reopened just after noon, and right now I-75 still closed in both directions between Corunna and Bristol roads. First responders had to use rowboats to rescue residents as floodwaters trapped people in their apartments, like one in Grand Blanc Township. The scene also repeated in the business community, like a Burton roofing company that was submerged in 4 feet of water. And then there was the threat of personal safety, as evidenced by a dramatic rescue of a truck driver on I-75 here in Flint Township. The weather washout is our big story tonight. We have full team coverage from across Genesee County. And we begin with NBC 25's Dylan Collier here in Flint Township with details of that dramatic highway rescue. Dylan?
And Bill, 5 inches of water overnight and into this morning proved to be too much for a lot of vehicles in Genesee County, including a semi-truck full of potatoes driving southbound on I-75. Brandon Jenkins was driving that truck from Kalkaska on his way to Detroit with 44,000 pounds of potatoes when the truck took on water and became stuck. The engine quit. Brandon quickly got out of the truck on top of the cab and waited for rescuers. Rescue workers did come eventually in the form of a dinghy. They were able to get Brandon off of the cab, onto the dinghy, and safely to shore. Brandon is said to be in high spirits tonight and even thinks that he'll be able to salvage the 44,000 pounds of potatoes. And from highways to households, a lot of folks in Genesee County woke up underwater as water invaded several Flint Township neighborhoods. NBC 25's Jenny Suniga joins us live with more on that story.
Dylan, the water was actually much higher when we first got out here. Residents wouldn't or couldn't come talk to me because of all the water surrounding their houses. And that's how they were most of the day, trapped in their homes. Water everywhere you turn. So much, in fact, some Flint Township residents stranded in their own homes.
I know this is a lot of rain, but still, this shouldn't happen.
David Wood lives near the intersection of Graham and Arlene Roads. Most of the area 3 feet underwater.
There's standing water in the breezeway and in the garage. Underneath the house is all flooded.
There's so much water in David's yard, he's unable to pull his car out. How would you get your car out of there?
Well, I don't. I wait till it goes down.
David said when he woke up, his yard was completely flooded. It actually has gone down about a foot since 8 o'clock this morning, but there was more damage. A downed tree knocked out half of his fence and totally destroyed his neighbor's shed.
House is an island out there. You can see that.
While David's grandchildren try and wade across the street, his son helps a neighbor drain water out of his crawl space. 2 streets down, Scott Fraser woke up to the same mess.
Came out to go to work and seen that the water was up to the top of the steps, and I pulled my pant legs up, went in the car and seen that the water was up to the seats.
His garage is filled with water, touching dangerously close to electrical wires and outlets.
It makes me nervous, but I haven't gotten zapped yet.
Scott says he'll have to wait till the water recedes until he can do anything.
And the water comes down, hose it out, and get it all straightened around again.
Now, unfortunately, this is not the first time many of these residents have seen this type of flooding. It's actually happened 3 or 4 times, but this is, I'm told, one of the worst they've ever seen.
We're going to talk a story about you, how deceiving the water can be. You got a taste of the water the hard way today, didn't you?
We actually didn't get that on cameras, thank goodness, but you can't really see the driveway or where there's a ditch, and I was not on a driveway, I was in a ditch, went straight up to my waist.
Very deceiving. All right, Jenny, thank you very much. Well, businesses were not the only ones spared by this incredible deluge today. NBC 25's Dan Armstrong reports on a Burton company, a roofing company, that never opened today simply because workers couldn't get into the parking lot.
This business is only 2 years old. The parking lot was designed so that it wouldn't flood. Well, today it did. Goods Roofing on Center Road, north of Maple Road, had no chance Friday.
I got a phone call early about 6 o'clock this morning that I better bring a boat to my office.
That's because the parking lot had 4 feet of water, 12 inches inside the business. There's a 9-foot deep culvert and several drains in and near the parking lot, but the system couldn't handle all the water.
It's just too much.
The owner says this has never happened before and was surprised to see how much water could collect over a short time. Consumers Energy checked the facility to make sure the water did not affect the utilities.
Neighbors have said it's been 30 plus years since they've had this much water in this area.
Now, the owner tells me he's not sure what he's going to do next. He does not have flood insurance. He's never even thought about it until now. In Burton, Dan Armstrong, NBC 25 News.
Dan, thank you very much. So some neighbors in that area told us they saw boats being used to take the employees to get into work this morning, and that was, we're told, a scene repeated throughout Genesee County this morning. Well, the storm took many of us by surprise. It happened quickly, it happened unexpectedly. Let's get the official word right now from our chief meteorologist, Mark Torregrossa. Mark?
Yeah, it certainly is amazing how quickly Mother Nature can drop a whole lot of rain. A full 2 months worth of rain, May and June's normal rainfall in less than 12 hours in Genesee County. Take a look at what happened across mid-Michigan over the last 24 hours. A lot of you are thinking, flooding? What flooding? It was just a nice rain. But in Genesee and Shiawassee County, way more than just a nice rain. You see that area? The yellow, the orange, and the red being the heaviest. That's the area, southern Genesee County, from Goodrich to Burton to Flint to Flushing to Corunna, with Flint Bishop reporting 5.48 inches of rainfall. That falling, I figure, in about a 10-hour time period. So definitely a reason for the massive flooding. And as we continue our team coverage here on NBC 25 of the massive flooding, we're going to head out to Earl Arms in Burton, where some of the worst flooding has occurred. Earl?
Earl Arms here, continuing our team coverage here on Atherton Road, literally just a few feet away from the Burton city limits. And here in Burton, the effects of the flood are being felt as well here as anywhere else in Genesee County. Now, if you can look behind me, there's a truck of a tenant of that blue house. He tried to back out of his driveway, ended up in a sinkhole about 3 feet into the ground. He showed me the water was up to the window initially, but his truck continues to go down into the sinkhole even as the water levels go down. But Burton, not the only place facing problems here in Genesee County. Baker College and Flint ended up canceling their morning and afternoon classes. The water from the creek on campus just up too high. Markings on the building showed flooding up to a couple of feet on campus, but the levels have gone down since this morning. And I spoke with the university spokesperson. He said that night classes will resume as scheduled at Baker College. Up the road at City Hall, completely shut down today, meaning all services within City Hall closed until next week. Damage could be seen from the inside out. Water coming from the dome roof down to the floor. No power inside or outside. Even the street lights on 5th and Saginaw shut off, causing a 4-way stop and obvious delays in commuting, excuse me. So from Flint to Burton, here in Burton, all the way to Grand Blanc, just the rain has come down heavily, and so much so people in Grand Blanc ended up having to float and boat their way to safety to their homes and to their apartments. And we're going to go to Grand Blanc, where Jamie Edmonds shows us folks who ended up having to pretty much literally with their lives just underwater.
The water for the most part here at Knollwood Apartments has subsided, but that was not the case early this morning when all of these cars were covered with water.
I looked outside and it was a lake. Every single car that is here was underwater. And there was one car that was floating down the parking lot.
That's the scene Terry Herzl woke up to Friday morning outside her townhouse in Grand Blanc Township. Then she walked downstairs.
The water from the door wall started coming through the house. The heat ducts were gurgling water because there was so much water in the basement.
Water and sewage still fill Herzl's basement, as well as her neighbors. The water line outside shows how deep it once was.
The police department and the fire department was here rescuing people in boats because no one could get out of their home.
The apartment complex says they can't say for sure how many of their 648 units were affected. An outside restoration company was already hard at work Friday afternoon assessing the damage. but for Herzl and her neighbors, you can't put a price tag on it.
A whole lot of memories, things that we have to replace, and starting over. It's traumatic.
The families tell me now all that's left is to rely on the kindness of others and begin to pick up the pieces. In Grand Lake Township, Jamie Edmonds, NBC 25.
All right, thanks, Jamie. We've been showing you what happened this morning with the massive flooding. Now let's check the status of the way the rivers stand right now. Let's head over to Kevin Usman. Kevin, give us an update.
Thanks, Mark. We're watching the rivers and the creeks very closely. And while in most places the water is going down, there is one spot where the water is going to continue to rise tonight, and that is the Flint River in and around Flint. Right now at 13.9 feet, expected to crest late tonight at 14.5 feet and then fall below flood stage by tomorrow evening. So wherever the water is now, expect it to come up more if you live along the Flint River. Be aware of that. Thread Creek in Flint falling now. It has peaked. It will fall below flood stage late tonight. Same thing with Swartz Creek, also falling and will fall, actually is already below flood stage now. And more good news, while there are a few light showers out there in triple Doppler, they're dissipating. Just a few spotty light showers and sprinkles tonight. Nothing that's going to further add to the problems that we have out there. Well, we've had lots of folks through Facebook and Twitter, social media, sending us pictures and updates on the terrible flooding today. And this is Jared Smith with an update on that. Jared?
Thank you, Kevin. We have been monitoring the situation from the Interactive Center all day long. Let's go right to the monitor. This is a picture at around 7 a.m. this morning on eastbound I-69, right by the I-75 on-ramp. You can certainly feel for this poor guy trapped in the car. As you move the visuals along, you can continue to see this was a farm. Now it's a lake. And here's a great shot of a Flint Township Fire Department truck just completely stuck in the water. Not all of the visuals are bad. This one was sent from us from Earl Arms with that guy in Burton. And as you continue to scroll along, this was some of the weather from last night. So not all the visuals are scary. Here's a great shot of a beautiful orange sky after the thunderstorms last night. So not all of the things are scary. But now we're going to send it back out to Bill Harris for more of continuing team coverage. Bill?
Jared, we're back here live in Flint Township, a different home on Mentola Avenue, basically an island unto itself, totally surrounded by water. Perfect example of the many homes in Genesee County going through this right now. Our entire NBC 25 News team working to bring you every angle of the storm and its aftermath. When we come back tonight, from high winds to high water, the damage is widespread. We'll have more on the people overwhelmed by water and details on the infrastructure that just simply couldn't take it. Plus, Consumers Energy gives us the latest on power outages. Jane Park will have details on school closings and canceled events this evening. We'll bring you reaction from our Facebook fans, and Mark Torregrossa will have your full weather forecast when NBC 25 News at 6, the special edition, returns.